Warning, the following podcast uses more foul language than Noah watching a Jaguars game.
This week's episode of The Scathing Atheist is brought to you by BetterHelp, Sometimes Illness Wins by Carrie Black, and by the fact that I was able to convince Eli that that wasn't the kind of ice that pick was meant for. And now, The Scathing Atheist.
Greetings all, Cass here. So I'm reading an early modern medical text, as anyone might do, and suddenly it smacks me in the face with this gem. Quote, "Superstition requires gullibility, just as true religion requires faith." End quote. 500 years on, and they are still no closer to hearing themselves. All of this is to say that we are still in the process of evolving from filthy monkey men.
Thursday.
It's October 9th.
And it's National Pro-Life Cupcake Day.
Well, I believe batter is already a cupcake, so grab a spoon.
I'm no illusions.
I'm Eli Bosnick.
I'm Heath Enright. And from Mitch, Albums, New Jersey, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Waycross, Georgia, this is The Scathing Atheist.
On this week's episode, the nuns are emptier than we thought.
A Trump video about med beds gets recognized as AI because of complete sentences.
And Ross Douthat will ask how we explain all the alien abductions if Jesus isn't our Lord and Savior.
But first, the diatribe.
Despite what us mediocre white guys might lead you to believe, thinking objectively is really hard. I used to think it was easy and that I was great at it, but it turned out I only believed that because thinking objectively is really hard. And it makes sense when you think about it, right? Shit gets weird when you suddenly have to hammer a nail into your hammer, but the entire problem is that you don't think about it, or at least I didn't. Not until I was prompted to repeatedly by people smarter than myself. Over and over again, I realized that what seemed to me to be the logical and objective truth just turned out to be a reflection of my bias. Of course, the intellectual humility that comes with that realization can be crippling. I've met a lot of people crippled by it, actually, people who are unable or at least unwilling to formulate any strong opinion about anything for fear that their intellectual faculties are too polluted by bias to be trusted. Instead, they hold other people's opinions, like you might hold another person's cat, right? Firmly enough to provide comfort, but light enough to let it go the second there's a struggle. And when we succumb to that state, we've traded thinking poorly for not thinking at all. Now, as we all know, the way out of this dilemma is to do the actual hard work of reasoning, to honestly engage with the arguments on the other side, to re-examine your biases as they relate to the subject, to seek out the opinion of those with different biases, to allow yourself to change your mind and to admit when you're wrong. And as easy as that list is to rattle off, it's really fucking hard to do. Each step along the way is harder than the last one. So what ends up happening for a lot of people is that you mostly outsource that shit. And for a lot of you, that's where I come in. Right? I'm not saying that I'm doing your thinking for you, but unlike you, I've got the time and willingness to stay current on the Christian news sites, learn what they're freaking out about, dive into it to see what, if any, merit is there, and report back to you. And you trust me to be honest with you and myself and tell you whether or not their latest tirade is valid, and if not, what they're getting wrong. But that adds in a whole new layer of bias, doesn't it? Because I'm kind of duty-bound to side with the atheists here. I mean, I'll be as objective as I can be, but I'm never going to come back and say, yeah, so I looked into those claims by the Holy Sepulchre Baptist Church in Potawatomi or whatever, and it turns out that Christ is our Lord and Savior. So how could you ever trust me, an atheist podcaster whose whole fucking job is to conclude that there's no God, to objectively assess arguments for the existence of God? Now, to be honest, I doubt this is a huge concern for you since I'm not thinking for you, right? If I was full of shit, you'd probably be like, he's full of shit on this subject. But it's something that I'm challenged with constantly by emailers and shit like that. How can this scathing atheist ever be objective if the title states the conclusion? Now, of course, the short answer here is there already wasn't a God when we named the show. right? Ours isn't a show about exploring the possibility of God. It's about exploring the reality that there isn't one. So I don't really need a defense for this. But that doesn't mean I don't have one. And it's a pretty definitive fucking defense. I desperately want to be wrong about this. The other side has fucking immortality. Not just for me, but for my loved ones. Hell, some versions even have it for my dead cats. Jesus died for their sins too, apparently, selectively. So holy shit, if I could convince my brain for just one goddamn second that even one of religion's arguments wasn't horseshit, if I could find one iota of credible evidence the science couldn't explain, if I could find even a hint of a suggestion of an influence by a benevolent God, I would be all the way in. I would love to convince myself that there's a heaven everlasting. But even if I was wrong, it would be genuinely really nice to be able to pretend along with everybody else, to put the thoughts of the yawning void of nothingness at bay and believe I still have another million years to figure shit out, that I actually will get to read all the books I want to read and finish all the video games I want to finish, that I actually will get to give my dad another hug. You think I don't want that shit? And Christian apologists, for their part, recognize this gaping hole in their argument. They've got all the motivated reasoning on their side, which makes it really hard to argue that we atheists are in it for ourselves, right? We just want to protect ourselves from the thoughts that our loved ones live on and that we're not doomed to be forgotten by a cold and uncaring universe. Tough to sell, right? So what they do is they pretend that our side is tied with their side because, you know, as much as we all want the immortality and the paradise, we want our sinful butt sex and pornography even more. But if that were true, you're right. If we really just needed an intellectual out to accommodate all the sins we wanted to indulge in, we wouldn't give up believing in God. We'd just stop believing in a God that thought butt sex and porn were sins. There are, as it turns out, plenty of those gods to choose from. Hell, we don't even need that if you offer up a God who's infinitely forgiven. But even now, like even 12 years into being a publicly outspoken atheist, I find myself reading Ross Douthat's idiotic book thinking, man, it'd be awesome if he convinced me. You know, and not just because there's a lot more money to be made if I find Jesus at this point in my career, but because I genuinely want him to be right. I want eternity, and I want a world governed by a just and loving God. But I have the world I have, and I have the intellectual humility it takes to admit that.
They're talking about your Jesus.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special news bulletin.
Joining me for headlines tonight are the Smash Burger and Impossible Burger to Mike Quarter Pounder with Cheese, Heath Enright, and Eli Bosnick. Fellas, are you ready to slide between them buns?
All right. In and out. I like it.
Hell yeah.
And I am way worse for you than promised. So this all tracks.
Yeah.
Animal style.
All right. Well, quick before I lose my Gen X cred for not coming up with a where's the beef joke here, we're going to pause for a word from this week's sponsor, BetterHelp. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Hey, podcast listener. You know, October 10th is World Mental Health Day. And one of the many benefits of being an atheist is our firm and prominent belief that mental illness is not ghosts in your blood.
No, it's not, Eli. No, it's not. Whatever you're going through, an exorcist, witch doctor, or shaman can't help. But you know what can? A therapist with BetterHelp.
BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. A short questionnaire helps identify your needs and preferences, and their 10-plus years of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means that they typically get it right the first time.
And if you aren't happy with your match, switch to a different therapist at any time from their tailored recommendations.
This World Mental Health Day, we're celebrating the therapists who've helped millions of people take a step forward. If you're ready to find the right therapist for you, BetterHelp can help you start that journey. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/scathing. That's BetterHelp.com/scathing.
Therapy, because mental health is real and ghosts in your blood are not. And now, back to the headlines. In our lead story tonight, normally we pick the top story based on which story we think is the most impactful to the largest percentage of our audience. But as you may have noticed, that can get really fucking depressing. So because of that, and the fact that he sort of just rolled all the Supreme Court stuff into one story before I got to the notes, I want to open on some good news.
Greedy.
And I get to be a demographic nerd about it as well, which is always a plus. So it turns out that the vast swath of nuns that demographers like to write off as still religious, even though they say they aren't, you remember them? the ones that they describe as spiritual but not religious. Well, new research casts serious doubt on just how spiritual this vast array of nuns really are.
Yeah, they're yes-handing spiritual in hopes of having sex. We've all done that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And in my experience, any single question usually does the trick to destroy this narrative. So I'm glad they finally got around to doing it.
To asking one question, yeah. So this new research comes from the unofficial demographer of Puzzle in a Thunderstorm LLC, Ryan Burge et al. And it looks into the question of just how spiritual the nuns are. So the prevailing theory among demographers is that, yes, Americans are walking away from religion at an incredible rate and have been for decades, but they're not becoming atheists so much as they're finding new spiritual practices to sort of fill the religious void. Right? These vaguely defined spiritual practices include stuff like meditation, yoga, crystal healing, astrology, and cultural appropriation. And like already that's problematic, right? Because you don't have to be spiritual to meditate. A lot of people, myself included, do yoga and just hold their noses at all the spiritual stuff. But another thing that's problematic about that view is that according to Burge's new research, it's also just wrong.
Yeah. And sometimes with cultural appropriation, you got to just let it go. Like, if my culture had crystal healing and astrology and obnoxious people started taking it, have fun. That's like, it's like stealing my insured car that doesn't work. Like, please steal my 05 Subaru right now.
What Heath is saying is you should be grateful for cultural appropriation, brown people. It's a compliment. It's a compliment.
Sometimes it is.
So Burge and his team surveyed 12,000 nuns and asked specifically about their spiritual activities. Do they do yoga? Do they meditate, smudge their homes, or whatever the hell that's called? And it turns out that by and large, the answer is no. Only 27% regularly did yoga, only 15% meditated or did astrology, whatever the fuck that means, and fewer than 10% used drugs to obtain spiritual experiences.
Did astrology?
Yeah.
Is a weird phrase.
Do you do it?
Yeah, I did stars. But the key is, despite what the religion is vital, universal, and inevitable crowd will tell you, the overwhelming majority of people who walk away from religion don't replace it with a damn thing.
All right, I got my boil lanced off. I guess I could get a new sack of pus from a body, or maybe just no sack of pus now. I don't know.
Hard to tell.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm going no sack of pus. We'll see how it goes.
And also, keep in mind that the minority percentage of spirituality we're keeping is only because we're counting completely unrelated shit, right? Like, if you counted jerking off as exercise, I work out 11 times a day.
Right. Now, of course,
this is a weird way to yes and the sack of pus, man.
Yeah. Now, of course, look, this leads to the question of why so many nuns will take the mantle of spiritual when it's offered. And Burge's new research doesn't actually go into that. But if I may speculate a bit, I think one of the possibilities that we've under-considered is, I have a whole fucking show for me to speculate, goddammit. But I think one of the possibilities that we're not giving enough credence to is the fact that admitting to some form of spirituality is often like a compromise, right? A cultural compromise. If I say I'm spiritual but not religious, I'm leaving room for you and your stupid beliefs, right? I'm not contradicting you as directly. So some people see that as the proper or polite answer, even if it isn't true.
Right.
And in docket full of kryptonite news, the Supreme Court fired up their new term this week, and the important lesson on constitutional theory is you should have voted for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
They've got a docket lined up with a long list of theocracy-building bullshit, and pretty much every case is going to be affirming that Christ is God, or reversing a lower court that said Christ is God, but not enthusiastically enough. That includes the religious rights of conversion therapy, spreading disease, and skipping over state courts when those state courts are all secular and gross and you just want to go straight to federal. Also, a Rastafarian plaintiff wants a religious freedom for Rastafarianism. So good luck to that guy, I guess.
Hey, wacky minority religions, let's pop back down while the high papal court declares Jesus our national God like they're picking a state bird, huh? Not really the time to do your bit.
I'd say, okay, I'm not going to say Rastafarianism isn't wacky, but I'm going to strenuously object to the idea that it's wacky for a religion. Weed is so much better as a god than a fucking cracker. Come on.
This is true. That's true. I didn't say bad. I just said wacky.
And a big thanks to Nick for sending a link to ScathingNews@gmail.com. Nick gets to be first in line to take a mission accomplished victory photo when we do that thing with the guy in the place. I'll start with the case of Childs v. Salazar. The plaintiff, Kaylee Childs, is challenging a Colorado state law that bans conversion therapy because it's not therapy. That's why they have that law banning it. It's actually anti-therapy. Or abuse, I guess you could say, or malpractice, or stupid and evil. Lots of words for it. Much like a doctor giving a patient a Hege doesn't cure the lady vapors, the data shows that conversion therapy doesn't cure the made-up illness of LGBT or Q. And even if you do the Hege Christianly, it's still a no. It doesn't do anything. And that's why Colorado has a law about licensed healthcare professionals only being allowed to do real stuff that works. Kaylee Childs, of course, is a Christian therapist who claims that being forced to only do real stuff is violating her First Amendment rights of speech and religion.
Right. So to be clear, she's suing for her religious right to torture children into pretending to be straight. And she's going to fucking win.
She's absolutely going to win. Yeah.
Because elections have consequences. This is one.
You guys remember how L. Ron Hubbard had to change Dianetics from a therapy to a religion because religions don't have any rules or laws? You guys ever, for a fucking second, thought those would turn out to be the good old days?
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning that Kaylee Childs is being represented by the Alliance Defending Freedom. I mention that because they're liars, and they did a bunch of lying again. They cited multiple studies in their filings trying to claim support for conversion therapy in those studies. But immediately, two of their sources released official statements saying, fuck your face. Or maybe it was like, the ADF is profoundly misrepresenting our study or something like that.
Yeah, it's a same statement, different intensities. Just turn down
they
the dial.
Sound very similar. And the ADF is fully aware of their lying. They quoted a study as saying, respected researchers of LGBT issues have long observed that longitudinal population-based studies show changes in the same-sex attractions of some individuals over time. But the ADF very conveniently left out the sentence that introduced those longitudinal studies and explained the context here is not conversion therapy, and don't use this for your bigot lawsuit and remove this sentence. You have to include all of this.
Yeah, I love that they literally cited, and when my kid left home, he turned gay as evidence for their side.
Yeah, but also it's like saying that because some people eventually become astronauts, therapy can turn you into an astronaut, right? Like, no.
Yeah. All right.
Next up, therapy.
Next up, we have First Choice Women's Resource Centers v. Platkin. New Jersey Attorney General Matthew Platkin is fully aware that First Choice, whatever the fuck, is one of those Christian liar facilities called a crisis pregnancy center. And pretty much all they provide is anti-choice propaganda. So the AG's office issued a subpoena to First Choice as part of an investigation into their practices. In response, they sued Platkin in federal court, claiming they were targeted for their anti-choice views. And yes, of fucking course they were, and they should be. They also argued that responding to a subpoena violates their freedom of speech and association by chilling donations to them.
I'm not driving. I'm traveling. I'm traveling on the land.
Yeah, I'm just going to guess that the donations were not chilled.
Yeah, nothing chills donations quite like publicity. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. Either way, two different federal court rulings said, no, you can't just skip to federal, go and argue in state court. What the fuck are you doing? So now the Supreme Court is going to decide if you can just skip to favorite theocrat court if it suits you.
Yeah, it's like how 4 out of 5 doctors say I'm fat, but the 5th doctor is Doctorate Liz Rosenberg, my mommy, and she says I have big bones. So,
and I have a note from her that gets me out of whatever.
That gets me out of gym class,
or into whatever.
Susceptible to colds.
It's whatever I want, my mom said. And just to be clear, the ability to challenge a state subpoena right away in federal court, it might be a good thing in certain cases. Like, I don't know, just top of my head, if a fascist red state AG tried to go after I don't know, like a list of enemies that they might be handed.
Sure.
But that's only helpful if the new principle was applied consistently, regardless of Christianity being involved. And it won't.
No, none of them are. Yeah, the only fucking thing consistent about Discord is Sam Alito's asking price, adjusted for inflation, of course.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the Christian freedom to plague your local school. Obviously, this topic was pretty big in recent years. And it's going to be decided at the highest level in a case called We the Patriots USA Incorporated v. Ventura Unified School District.
I wonder who the bad guys in that
Yeah, hard to say. Pretty much all the context you need built right into that title. A California parent was using the religious exemption on vaccinating kids for public schools and claiming that vaccines have a ground-up aborted Dutch baby from 1973 inside the syringe at least a little bit. And not the delightful breakfast. They weren't talking about that.
There's no interpretation of those words that wouldn't make for a delightful breakfast, Heath.
Yeah,
This is true. This is true.
It's definitely true. But then California realized it was homicidally insane to have exemptions for magic to vaccination rules. So the family was told they can continue worshiping the Bible passage about stem cell biotech, but not with unvaccinated kids inside public schools. And now our current Supreme Court is going to decide if that's anti-Christian persecution.
Are they?
And to be more specific, they're going to rule whether the imagined incorrect objection to something she doesn't understand is more important than public health. And again, the answer will be yes. I don't want anyone to be confused.
Sure
Yeah.
will.
And I'm just going to go ahead and give you my picks for your fantasy SCOTUS League.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, this is a real thing, by the way. There's like a fantasy SCOTUS League that like they're taking seriously on a site. Here's mine. For the conversion therapy case, that's going to be 6-3 in favor of Christ is God. For the crisis pregnancy center's religious right to end run state courts, that's going to be 9-0 in favor of the Christian plaintiff, or maybe whoever else wants to use the rule, maybe. And when a non-Christian plaintiff tries to use the rule, we'll get a 6-3 ruling that Christ is God. So,
Interesting.
that's a no. And in We the Patriots USA, caw, or whatever the fuck it was called, that's going to be 6-3 in favor of super spreading Christ is God.
Mhm.
Also, there's no more bodily autonomy, and trans rights are being attacked all over the place. But Hillary wasn't exciting enough, and Dems are they're just like Republicans. So
Identical parties.
happy pumpkin spice latte season, you fucking idiots.
Okay, well, okay, Heath, don't take it out on PSLs. That's all we have left, okay?
All right. Well, while you get those bets locked in, we're going to take another break for an ad for one of you.
Hey, podcast listener, I'm Eli Bosnick.
I'm Heath Enright.
And I'm No Illusions. And the next sponsor comes from one of you.
That's right, knuckle fuckers. Today we're going to be talking about Sometimes Illness Wins. A book about grief for kids, teens, and adults.
Really got to start reading ahead.
I was excited to represent our listeners. I should
Yeah.
have
Been way too hot.
Yeah. Written with the distraught brain in mind, Sometimes Illness Wins is all about what to expect when navigating the loss of someone special and what can help.
Plus, there's lots of blank spaces for your own experience. We all manage grieving in our own way.
Motherfuckers!
Seriously?
The
man?
only way out is through, is what I've decided. Is
Okay.
It's through.
Get your copy from FillingTheGapPublishing.com. That's FillingTheGapPublishing.com. Sometimes Illness Wins. A really lovely book that Eli should have probably read about.
Don't do the
No.
guitar.
No.
And finally tonight, in MedBed Redemption news,
Nice.
the President of the United States is promoting a magical healing device that fixes all the ailments called a MedBed. Or is he? We've got multiple levels of stupid confusion, so it's kind of hard to say. Trump shared a video of himself promoting this technology on a Fox News segment, but the video was made with AI, and so it never actually aired on Fox. It was AI. And then Trump quietly deleted his post the next day. So that's a real post of a fake video of a real person who made that post promoting a fake technology, but with real companies that sell it on a fake segment from a real channel that does fake news. Anyway,
Oh, interesting.
It's a bed that cures everything. So you decide.
Okay, but we know that this actually means that Trump saw himself promoting something and was like, "That's me. I love that guy." Retweet. And then some intern had to run into the Oval Office and be like, "Not you, sir. Count the fingers. Count the fingers, sir. It's not you. It's
the
not
only way that you know how to count in the first place, count the fucking fingers."
So the medbed idea dates back at least as far as the UFO craze following World War II. Conspiracy theories emerged about the U.S. government finding alien ships full of amazing technology and then reverse engineering a bed that cures any disease and regenerates lost limbs, and it even reverses aging. And of course, the government is keeping that a secret this whole time, especially now that John F. Kennedy is being kept alive using a med bed. And the lie around John F. Kennedy got way too big to walk it back now. Not clear what JFK is doing for us in the med bed, but that's a real part of the conspiracy narrative.
Well, yeah. So every conspiracy theory that existed between 1963 and 1987 had to have John F. Kennedy in it by law. There was
that's true.
By law.
My theory, by the way, he's regenerating so he can come back and kill his nephew.
Okay. Well,
I like it.
Support.
So
tick. I mean, tick.
Really conflicted, my friend. He's just there with that hat.
No, I wasn't conflicted. I was just thinking about how to say how I'm very happy about that idea. So the medbed got some renewed attention lately thanks to the QAnon movement and some notable celebrity endorsements. Like, for example, Romana Didulo. That would be the Queen of Canada. You might remember her from a Who's Who segment. Also, Aaron Rodgers, the anti-vax dolphin fucker who lives 5 minutes from Eli's house.
Sure fucking does, baby.
Dolphin voyeur.
And then most recently, we got the AI-generated president being re-bleeded on Truth Social by the actual president as an endorsement. The video had Donald being interviewed by his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, with the president claiming that we're entering a new era of medbed facilities and promising a medbed card coming soon. Gotta look at Dave & Buster's hospital scenario he's describing. But then Trump deleted that post, which made people even more certain there's a really big secret being kept about the medbeds.
No. Sarah, they're not ready for the medbed yet. Let's just shoot another lady in the face and say she tried to run us over. Well, we did it.
I'm sorry, wait. So the conspiracy theorists think that there was a secret segment on Fox News?
AI made up a secret, but double bluff? Not clear what they're thinking. So obviously when QAnon people start believing something, there's going to be stupid lies for sale, and medbeds are no exception. One of the companies is called Tesla Biohealing. No connection to the car company other than being named after Nikola Tesla, who allegedly built a medbed in a top secret lab somewhere in New York City. He did not. That did not happen. Nonetheless, they're selling a medbed product that anyone can use in their home just by adding a bed, just to add bed. The thing you get, it looks like a can of paint, and it's called a biophotonizer. And of course, it generates a biophoton healing field from under your bed that increases cellular energy in case it's too low in your cells. And then, this would heal anything. According to the company, the can contains, quote, fine, naturally active stones, activated fine metal, grout, sands.
Sorry, what?
And proprietary polymers. So, okay, they're describing cement. That's cement. And people open this thing up. It's a can of cement. It costs 11,000 Christian dollars for the Biophotonizer M model.
Well, but I like that they painted it gold, though, right? Illusion of value.
Right.
Okay. Do you guys think when you're painting a can of cement gold to sell for $10,000 to the
11,000
elderly and infirm, you have a moment where you're like, I might not be a great guy, huh?
I don't think you do. I
love that it's 11,000 instead of 10 because they found out how expensive it was going to be to ship, right? Or something.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, there's tariffs on the can. Yeah, I put some pictures here in the notes. Don't be fooled by that second photo I put in there that shows 2 cans under the bed with the really happy lady on the bed. It's probably just her bed, but you get 1 can for the 11 grand, but you're gonna want 4 cans. On the order page, it says, asterisk, this device is sold individually, but may be shown as a pair. If you'd like to purchase more than 1, we suggest 4 if possible. Please contact us in the chat box or by phone to get the best price.
It's so the bed doesn't tilt, right? Is that what it is?
It seems to be holding the slats up nice and even. So, okay, if you're not ready to drop 44 grand on cement cans,
I'm not.
Coward.
Tesla Biohealing does have resort facilities available.
Oh, of course they do.
One of them is, it's so sad, it's a Ramada, and it's in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Fucking
I would like to get off, please.
Yep. Yeah. That's where the ear thing happened, by the way. Interesting.
Oh, that's probably why he doesn't have a scar, because they rushed him to the medbed facility at the Ramada.
Thank you. Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but Noah understands. I thought I was going to sound crazy, but no, that's clearly what a lot of buzz about this. So I went on WyndhamHotels.com, and this is real. It's listed as Ramada / Tesla Biohealing Resort.
Continental breakfast included.
Yeah, it is. It does have a continental. Yeah. They don't have the waffles, but
the waffle station's broken.
The station's not there. Yeah. So I wanted to get the real scoop, though, not just what it says on their site. So I checked them out on Yelp. They have an overall rating of 3 stars out of 5.
Not great.
It's based on 2 total reviews. One is a 5-star, the other's a 1-star. Here's the 5-star from Ashley of Butler, PA. Quote, absolutely loved our stay. By far the nicest hotel pool we have been to, and so warm. Staff were all very friendly. Rooms were clean. The restaurant is incredible. We have ate here a few times for breakfast, but finally had dinner. My husband had the pork chop, and I had the steak. I'm a steak snob, and I loved it. Best in Butler. Definitely a hidden gem. Can't wait to return.
I am going to kill myself, and this review is the note.
So they live in Butler, and they go to this Ramada
to the
for
Ramada
breakfast.
in Butler. What the fuck? Who are you fucking, Ashley?
Yeah, but they finally had dinner there too when they stayed there at the Ramada in their own hometown.
Because it was her 40th birthday.
Maybe they didn't stay there. Maybe they just had dinner and snuck into the pool, and they're like, we should at least leave a 5-star review.
Yeah, the pool was warm, and that steak, come on. Yeah. Okay, so
she's a steak snob.
She's a snob, and she liked it. So that was a 5-star review. Here's the 1-star review from Monique of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, is what it says.
I think that's a place.
Quote, if I could give this place 0 stars, I would. We went here to try something different with no expectations of miracles.
It's a good first step.
We found out when checking in that we did not have an energizing room. Why else would we have booked a room there if we just wanted a regular hotel room? 1 star. I wish I could give 0.
But did she even try the steak is my question.
Yeah, exactly. It turned out when we got there that energizing rooms don't even exist.
I'm an idiot? I'm an idiot.
Okay. I also, that review went on for a while too, and it described the pool, and the pool has the energizing stupid fucking cement cans, like just sitting in the pool.
Oh, that must be why it's so warm.
Yeah.
Bunch of drowned kids who tried to pick them up like the pool toys.
Yeah. Okay, well, if the offerings from Tesla Biohealing aren't working for you, I have one more option. It's a quantum medbed.
Huh.
Ooh.
Much like the Biophotonizer M, you have to provide your own bed. And in this case, you provide your own particle waves too. But the Quantum Medbed Company provides the entanglement services. You upload a photo of your bed, and they entangle it with the concept of a healing bed. and then, then you're good to go. It's only about $3,000 for the quantum medbed.
Do you think when you're charging someone $3,000 to quantumly entangle a photo of their, you know what? Never. We have our answer.
Yep.
We have our answer.
Yep. All right. Well, it's time for us to rethink our monetization strategy again. So we're going to wrap the headlines for the night. Heath, Eli, thanks as always.
Jumanji.
And when we come back, Ross Douthat will see if he can change our minds with chapter. Fuck, we're only on 3? It's that time of the month again, the time we're forced to crack open Ross Douthat's effort to make even the most ridiculous possible claims seem plausible by injecting obscure enough literary references. That would be the book, Believe Why Everyone Should Be Religious, and we're going to talk about it again in this installment of
God Awful Books.
All right, so just to catch everybody up, in Chapter 1, Ross pretended that the God of the Gaps argument was valid. In Chapter 2, it was the fine-tuning argument. And now that he's established that the people still reading this don't know about refutations, it's time to move on to miracle claims. So this week, we're going to start but not finish Chapter 3, The Myth of Disenchantment. And we're going to fall short of the full chapter this week because it's almost twice as long as the last chapter, and damn near every sentence cries out for a refutation.
Ooh, it sure does.
Or at least like, why do you have this sentence here?
Yes,
I don't
right.
know. I don't know. It doesn't like it's N/A on refuting it. It's just dumb to be here.
Right. Or why this word choice? Yeah. So, okay. So we start with an obviously bullshit, unevidenced ghost story about a broken radio that proves the existence of miracles.
Yeah, when Noah told me we would need 2 segments for this chapter, I will admit I was skeptical, but then Ross starts it by ushering us into the Midnight Society, and I kind of got it from there.
But he's like, wait, do you doubt the veracity of the story? Well, what if I told you that it came from none other than Michael Shermer, that bastion of integrity whose word should never be doubted?
Finish your drink.
Oh, no. So stop for a second and consider a God who would hide his existence in all ways except for turning on Michael Shermer's wife's broken radio at exactly the right moment.
Yeah, got to admit, not the message I would choose to send to Michael Shermer's wife. But I'm not God.
Okay.
I'm not God. So.
Okay. My first thought, like, maybe stop worshiping a God who can't pee while you're looking.
Yep,
but it's worse than that. You're worshiping a God who can only pee when Michael Shermer is looking. And that's so terrifying.
Yeah.
In so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we're going to be asked how the rubber duckies would be so unsinkable if they weren't true in a subchapter titled The Resilience of the Supernatural. He goes, the idea that modernity means the death of miracles and magic is shared by writers who welcome disenchantment and those who lament its progress. That's the opening quote. And I'm like, yeah, man, pretty much all the writers who know about photography.
Yeah. Notice how he had to group miracles, the proof that his religion is true, in with the fucking smile of a child on Christmas to make us the grumps there, right?
Right.
And he explains that maybe the Dark Ages were bad and science is good, or maybe the Dark Ages were fucking amazing and magical and children smiling on Christmas, or maybe it's pros and cons that kind of work out to a tie. The score's not important. It's neither here nor there. We all agree that disenchantment is a great word to describe modern science, and that's the framing. Disenchantment. It might be good.
And then he makes references to the realm of capitalized official knowledge, right? Which is the fucking intellectual equivalent of talking about the lamestream media, what the lamestream media would tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know things. I don't have custody of my kids.
Yeah, right.
Never had sex with a woman.
Yes.
but we have 5 kids, so I'm not sure how that works, but we do have 5 kids. I don't know what happened. I'm Ross.
But his argument here is like, even as we've learned more, many of us remain selectively stupid, which is true, right?
Got us there.
He's like, even as we've rejected the supernatural claims, people kept having them. And I'm like, yeah, the claims, right? Like, people kept having claims. You're championing credulity here.
Yeah, and he listed the very serious people from, big official knowledge capitalized who rejected supernatural claims. That list would be journalists, academics, and Wikipedia editors.
He's still pissed about that one time. Yeah. So he says, non-religious people have religious experiences all the time. You don't know them. I'm not going to say they're from Canada, but it happens.
Really? You're going to call me a moron? That's your argument? Oh, oxymoron. Yep. No, you got me there. You got me.
Yep. So now he does admit that there are no large-scale miracles on the order of the parting of the Red Sea anymore. But then he tries to sneak in the hilariously disprovable miracle of the sun in Fatima in 1918 as a possible contender. If you want to know more, see Scathing Atheist 154 for more on that one.
Yeah, when your first miracle is Michael Shermer and your second is North is tricky, it's not a great sign for your argument.
Bunch of people staring into the sun saw weird shit.
Also, let me finish. There was a dress that was blue and black and white and gold at the same time.
Only through wizardry was this possible.
Sinbad played a genie in this movie Shazam with like Nelson Mandela and Shaquille O'Neal. A lot of miracles have happened.
Now, okay, so there's a point where he's like, okay, we can all agree that Mormonism and Scientology are bullshit, but what about the religions where we don't have the arrest records of their founders? Those ones are probably real.
Right.
Bad news, Ross. The New Testament is like 90% Jesus' arrest record.
Oh, it is,
I don't know if you found out. But
yeah, this was Ross trying to seem reasonable. So he's like, no, okay, granted, Joseph Smith and L. Ron Hubbard were con men making money on supernatural claims. And then he just moves on.
Yeah.
Like nothing else was to be said. You're Catholic, Ross.
Right?
You're Catholic.
We've noticed.
Biggest landowner in the world. Vaults of Nazi gold. Come on.
Also, hey, Ross, just a professional note, man. If you're trying to establish how reasonable your thing is, maybe don't equate it with people who say they were abducted by aliens.
Especially when the abduction people have a story that's like infinitely more coherent than yours.
Yeah.
Aliens are possible.
Well, okay, one of his actual arguments, page 73, if you don't believe me, is, okay, but what about all the real psychics? How do you explain them?
Still don't believe me? They're a very serious group of real psychics, and they're called the Premonitions Bureau. That's what he tells us here. That's the name of the book. Like, maybe don't give the name if that's the name.
Oh,
man.
yeah, right. Well, then in his search for credibility, he turns to NDEs. Now, to be clear, NDEs are, by and large, dreams, right? Often dreams had on really potent drugs. Nobody is claiming that dreams don't exist.
Yeah, and they also correspond to religion by region. So if we're doing this democratically, Ross, NDEs prove that Islam is true.
Sure. So, yeah, also there's this moment where he's like, well, and who would want to make a supernatural claim given all the negative attention that you're showered with when you make supernatural claims? People are always so negative about it.
Yeah, so everybody at the bar is like, boo, this guy sucks. Who has an accurate story about the materialistic universe that ignores the numinous? I want to hear a mundane, accurate story. This guy's credulous. Boo.
Also, there's a point here where he's like, and also, hey, by admitting that religious experiences have a psychological root, we, the atheists, the secularists, are moving the goalposts from the it's all a bunch of lies lie that he started the chapter pretending our position was. So
who are you arguing with?
Imagine if a science textbook chapter ended with, and hey, even if evolution isn't true,
yeah,
I think we can all agree it warms the cockles of our heart to believe it's true, right?
Or in this case, the science textbook would be saying, and hey, even if evolution is wrong, you said fossils are a Ponzi scheme, and that doesn't even make sense. So I win, I think.
And then he talks about the varieties of spiritual experience, by which he means whatever wacky claims don't seem too wacky to include in the book, right? So he starts with, he's got 3 different levels that he's going to tell us about. He starts with level 1, which is generic mystical experiences, i.e., looking at a sunset, but really looking at it.
Right, but really, yeah, that's exactly what he means. But it takes him so fucking long to get there without even getting there, because getting there would make him sound like an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we get like 1,000 words about the interconnection of dissolution and the soul's independence from mortal flesh. And I have some resin we could scrape out of a pipe. Please have sex with me back at my dorm room.
So
It's the worst.
But importantly, his first category is a thing that would be unverifiable, and we just have to take people's words for it, right? Oh, by the way, artistic epiphanies also count. That's religious. Dibs, licked it.
Don't you try to take Randy the raw dog from us, Ross Douthat. That's our work. Our work, damn it.
Yeah, we also learned, this was interesting, that reading Proust makes you Christian and possibly Hindu.
Huh.
You eat a Madeleine and you remember your soul's independence from mortal flesh in a Christian and or Hindu way.
Clearly.
Duelist cookie.
Yeah.
So, but the second type of experience is when you can tell God's looking at you. Again, unverifiably, entirely internal. Perfect example of what I'm talking about. This is a quote that he offers up from William James's Varieties of Religious Experience. Quote, God had neither form, color, odor, nor taste. God was present, though invisible. He fell under no one of my senses, yet my consciousness perceived him. End quote. That is what he's offering into evidence at this point.
I'd like to enter Exhibit B. It is this vial of iocane powder, also that's God, that I am pantomiming. No, it's not. It's invisible, but it's God, and it's here.
Okay, guys, I was pretty religious. Admittedly, I was Jewish, not Christian, but I don't remember this particular God-specific snipe hunt.
Yeah.
Do you have sleep paralysis while you're awake, Ross? Because it explains your writing. It does explain your writing.
I think he does.
Well, then he also quotes a Yale-educated writer who, I swear to you, turns out to be his goddamn fucking mother.
It really does.
Who was at a charismatic healing service, so the looniest of religious gatherings. And holy shit, did that read like she got molested by the Holy Ghost.
Okay,
Yeah.
It is sexual. Can I read a little bit?
Oh,
Can I read a little
please,
extra?
yeah.
Okay.
Please, yeah.
It just came into me with a roar. It clamped onto both sides of my face and over my thyroid and gripped my arms down into my hands that were still hovering over my waist and vibrating. But I was vibrating in many other places too by this point. And I couldn't breathe right because my diaphragm was really tight where this power was pouring into me and my stomach was quaking up and down. So that's not even the whole thing, but it goes on like that. I read that and I thought like, okay, did I somehow like click into a different book?
Yes,
And,
right.
now Eve Ensler's doing an erotic poem about sex with a xenomorph. This is a cool book I clicked into. I don't know what happened. But then I'm pulled right back out of it because Ross Douthat is like, my mother, ladies and gentlemen. That's my mother. And then I was like, I'm sad for his super cool mom. That's sad.
Yeah, also, I just want to chime in and say that using your mom and her credentials is actually totally fine. He didn't know are being ridiculous. He didn't say it wasn't his mom.
Yeah, no,
so
he
just
didn't.
take
He
the source
admitted
to
after
some
the fact that it was.
Add Mominem.
So
So stupid. That's awesome.
So, but it's important to note that all religious encounter with a god or gods count for his thing, regardless of their religion or origin, right?
Huh. Well, that's lucky.
Yeah, no, it makes something so much easier for him. But then we get the third category of religious experience, and that's the one where God shows up and says hi.
Okay, still not clear how any of this matters, Ross. People reported a feeling that's nothing, and nobody's arguing with that. And now you're explaining all the details of the categories of the nothings. I don't get any of this.
Yeah, well, and it's also like make it so that like the one claim that he has any evidence for, he's like, what's you have to multiply by 3 because there's 2 categories that have no kinds of evidence, right? So my evidence gets tripled. But like, and importantly, all claims of meeting the divine or even an alien or an otherworldly being count for his thing too.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that lucky?
Well, look, I get it. But my thing is true counts as an explanation for everything. You get a lot of stuff in your explanation basket.
Yes, right. Yeah. Voices in your head also count.
He does say that, yeah.
As do any number of other symptoms of mental illness that we really shouldn't be diluting.
Okay, it's cool if it's mostly like my voices, right?
No.
All my different wacky character voices.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
Okay, honestly, if you're walking around your apartment with Sarah Huckabee Sanders being like, toast
I definitely
again.
am sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we should talk to somebody.
I approve.
This episode's brought to you by
She's
BetterHelp.
usually judgy about food choices. That is,
I bet she
how it
would
works.
be,
Yeah.
Yeah. You can get a cheese plate anywhere you want, though.
You should have joined that gunfight. You got to be a patron to get that joke, but it's a good
you
one,
have to
I
be a
promise.
patron listening in reverse. So, but then he tells the story of a British lady that God started talking to like her brain was a cell phone. But then it turned out she had a brain tumor, which was removed, and then she stopped hearing the voices. I'm like, how the fuck does that help your claim? Are you saying the tumor triggered the hearing God's secret messages portion of her brain?
Yeah. Okay. Just to review, you're worshiping a God who, first of all, can only pee if Michael Shermer is looking, and your God invented a cell phone made of brain tumor. Dude, maybe stop telling us about your God. I don't know. It's not helping.
Let those ways be a bit more mysterious. Do you ever notice that nobody who ever hears God has like an original thought or a decent magic trick out of it?
Yep.
Like if I thought I was talking to God, but he sounded like my hippie aunt after 3 glasses of white wine, that would be an indication to me that it maybe wasn't God.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, God spoke to me. He didn't really have much to say, but banalities, yeah. But he's desperately trying to marry together these vastly different, culturally dependent religious experiences under one umbrella, which he achieves by offering no details about any of those experiences or what they entail. He's just vaguely talking about encounters, right? He's like, well, like maybe, and I swear he actually makes this argument, maybe Christian God just disguises himself as a Hindu God sometimes to get the point across when he really needs to talk to a Hindu about some shit. Did you ever think of that?
Okay, seriously, this part was so fucking sloppy. He's describing how everyone's, God vision is clearly determined by their personal experience in the region of the world and the culture they grew up in. And then he remembers he's fucking up his own point, and we watch him try to make an argument against himself, and he loses to himself in his book here. It's great. He says that non-Christians do have visions of the one true Christian God also. And they quote, he said, this is exact words, quote, eventually realize it's Jesus or the Virgin Mary or Saint Michael, end quote. And what the fuck does that even mean? What does he even think he means? They eventually have a realization about their hallucination?
Yeah.
Well,
what is that?
Except for the ones who don't.
Right. Well, at one point, again, the argumentation takes such a turn to the south in this third chapter. Right? He clearly blew his load in the first 2, because at this point he starts saying, well, and demons are clearly real because all the cultures have demons, and if you don't believe in them, just ask people having bad acid trips. They see them all the time.
Sure, yeah.
He points out that trickster gods, elves, fairies, and UFOs, they all count, even though they have no equivalent in Christianity.
Isn't that lucky?
The stuff that Eli says about politics on the phone to Heath, the way he uses a backup camera. Anyways, the elves and the trickster gods, they're the ones who keep making me put counterexamples to my own ideas in my book. So if
It's the fucking gremlins.
someone sees them,
All right, and then he tries to explain away the glaring lack of evidence for his side with a subchapter he calls the disreputability problem. Right? So he admits that people are more skeptical of that third kind of mystical experience than the other 2. And I'm like, well, it's not that we're more skeptical. It's the other 2 don't describe a thing happening. Right? We're equally skeptical about all 3 as evidence for God.
Yeah, nobody's calling your mom a liar, Ross. I fully believe that she fully believes that her greatest sexual experience was a face hugger with a God inside. I don't have a theory of the universe emanating from that.
Right,
because
exactly.
That would be insane.
Yes. Right.
I do have a theory of the universe emanating from that, but Miss Douthat emailed and asked me not to say it out loud on the show. So I'm gonna respect her peace.
Yes, exactly. Now, but he admits that lucid hallucinations and deliberate deceptions are things, which really shoots his whole argument in the fucking foot, I think.
Right.
Yeah, look, and keep in mind, I'm the one saying this. If you have to caveat your worldview with, now I admit that lying does exist, you probably don't have a great worldview, huh?
Well, see, but the problem is that the researchers that learn the truth about spiritual experiences are drummed out of academia, like the people who speak the truth about climate change or evolution or herbal remedies or med beds.
Yeah, exactly. I like that Ross tends to pop into every chapter to remind us that he's a dangerous idiot.
Yes.
Kind of gives me the strength to go on, right?
Right. But hey, look, I will admit that when professors at prestigious universities prove themselves gullible enough to fall for UFO accounts, they do and should lose academic credibility. I will concede this point to you. He makes that point. He gives an example. This guy, John Mack, and he's like, there are countless other examples, far too numerous for me to list any of.
Yeah, okay, point for Ross. Fine. But I'd feel better about giving him the point if Yale University would stop employing a professor named Ross Douthat.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Oh, God. At one point, okay, I shit you not, he literally cites experiences that his mom told him her friends told her they had at her church. And then, in case you're in any danger of taking this shit seriously, we get this actual line, quote, "Some of the spirits most eager to be summoned may not have your good in mind." End quote.
Also, remember, always end your Ouija board session by saying goodbye. I'm a correspondent for the New York Times.
And then he lauds the work of Tanya Luhrmann, who apparently can write about religious people doing religious stuff without being a dick about it. And then he offers this long quote from Luhrmann about her spiritual experience, which amounts to, one time I was on the train and I got really hot and I thought it was God, but I realized that one of my bicycle lights caught on fire in my backpack. I swear, I am not making that up. He quotes that on page 84 as though the spiritual feeling of warmth caught the bicycle light on fire.
Yeah, you know what they say, stop, drop, and holy roll.
This is the best. So the way the pages broke in my copy made this moment even better. At the very bottom of a page, she says, "I began to feel power in my veins. I grew hot. I wanted to sing." And then I turned the page. Fuck, my backpack's on fire. my bike light is melting. I think it's on fire. I could not stop laughing.
In this fucking book.
It's the greatest.
Oh, and it's the perfect place to stop. So that gets us about halfway through the chapter. So we're going to wrap it up there for the time being, and we're going to tackle the other half in the next installment of
God Awful Books.
Before we fold ourselves back into the zeroth dimension this week, I want to announce that this year's QED will feature a live record of the final episode of one of my favorite podcasts of all time, Incredulous. And Andy Wilson has made the mistake of inviting all three of us on to be part of it. So Eli, Heath, Andy Wilson, and myself will be seeing the show off in style. Tickets to QED sold out months ago, of course, but they do have online tickets available where you can watch in from home and keep track of all the action. They're very reasonably priced. You will find a link on the show notes. Anyway, that's all the blasphemy we've got for you tonight, but we'll be back in 10,022 minutes with more. If you can't wait that long, be on the lookout for a brand new episode of our Sister Show's Hot Friend GodAwfulMovies, debuting at 7 Eastern on Tuesday, and an even new episode of our Half Sister Show's Citation Needed, debuting at noon Eastern on Wednesday. Obviously, I can't fulfill my obligations as the host until I thank Heath Enright for all the right he does, Eli Bosnick for all the ick he does, and Lucinda Lugeons for all the uns she does. Yeah, it didn't work out the way I had hoped. I also want to thank Cass for providing this week's Farnsworth quote. Hey, quick reminder that Cass is presenting at Skeptic Camp, which is a free event put on the day before QED by skeptics in the pub online. Check the show notes for a link for more information. But most of all, of course, I want to thank this week's and last week's and the week before that's best people. Michelle, Angie, Allen, Audrey, Spencer, Darling, Callison, The Canonical Debate, Nash, Jillian, 60 Seconds is Too Long for a Theme Tune, Louise, Melissa, Paul, Robert, Will, Justin, Genevieve, Blue Gemini, Calves the Size of Cantaloupes, James, Chesil, Arthur, Mads Ripe, Ivy League 710, Charlie, Richard, Dan, Kevin, Katie, Peter, Jason, Stephen, Aaron, and Dennis, who are so hot they give the ocean an orgasm when they surf. Together, these 33 people, arguments, leagues, and important reminders for podcasts came together over the last few weeks to give us money. Not everybody has the money or patience to hear their name in the outro of those fine people, but if you do, you can make a per episode donation at patreon.com/Scathing Atheist, whereby you'll earn early access to an extended ad-free version of every episode, or you can make a one-time donation by clicking on the donate button on the right side of the homepage at ScathingAtheist.com. And if you'd like to help, but not in a having less money at the end of it kind of way, you can also help a ton by leaving a 5-star review, telling a friend about the show, and following us on social media. And speaking of social media, Tim Robertson handles that for us, and our audio engineer is Morgan Clark, who also wrote all the music that was used in this episode, which was used with permission. If you have questions, comments, or death threats, you'll find all the contact info on the contact page at ScathingAtheist.com. But then he's just like, I guess at this point, he's like, all right, that's all the smart stuff that there is for my side. And I got whole fucking book to do.
Surely
Now I'm
these
just gonna
first few
list
chapters where I used the biggest words I know did all the work I possibly could need.
Everybody's done reading by now because that was obnoxious for 2 chapters.
This content is CAN credentialed, which means you can report instances of harassment, abuse, or other harm at their hotline at 617-249-4255 or on their website at creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org. The preceding podcast was a production of Puzzle and a Thunderstorm LLC, copyright 2025, all rights reserved.